This is the paper service mill in the summer of 2005. The mill had operated for more than 100 years beside the Ashalot River in Winchester, New Hampshire. During that period, the mill's operations had continually evolved so that its business could remain competitive in changing times. In October 2005, Paper Service was on the cusp of implementing a new business strategy that would position the company to succeed well into the 21st century. Early in the morning on Sunday, October 9, 2005, everything changed. As rains from Tropical Storm Tammy passed through Winchester and the Ashalot River rose, the Algonquin Power Hydroelectric Dam was left unattended. The operator had gone home early Saturday evening, leaving the dam bypass gates, stop logs, and flashboards in place. As waters rose to dangerous levels, nothing was done. A high water alarm sounded at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. It was ignored. The dam issued two other alarms early Sunday morning. They were ignored as well. At approximately 6:21 a.m. on Sunday, the dam finally broke. For over 2 months, the river coursed through the mill. Everything was lost. In 1883, the Brooklyn Bridge was constructed, and so was Paper Service. At this time, rags from the cutting rooms and garment trade in New York City were used exclusively to make paper at Paper Service. At that time, the rags and paper were all transported to and from Paper Service via the adjacent railroad. By the early 1900s, Paper Service had become an established business and employer. The mill manufactured tissue products for expanding markets across North America. As its business grew, the Paper Service mill became a major employer for new workers who immigrated to the United States and settled in southern New Hampshire. In 1908, Clarence O'Neill began working at the mill. This marked the beginning of nearly 100 years during which the O'Neill family was responsible for operating and then owning the Paper Service mill. The O'Neill family settled in the Winchester area and became leaders in the community as their mill provided good jobs for generations of families. During the first half of the 20th century, Lower Robertson Dam, a small timber crib dam that spanned the Ashalot River, provided power for the Paper Service mill. The dam was decommissioned in 1949, and the mill used other sources of power. Before that occurred, the mill and the dam weathered the most serious storms to strike New Hampshire, including the hurricane of 1938. The paper mill was unscathed, and the dam was restored in less than 1 month. In 1939, the O'Neill family implemented the first of many significant changes in the mill's manufacturing operations when they transitioned to using recycled paper instead of rags to produce tissue. For the next 65 years, the Paper Service products would continue to be manufactured from 100% recycled materials. Paper Service also adopted environmentally sound manufacturing methods, including a state-of-the-art anti-pollution system that were to form the foundation for the mill's growth into the 21st century.
When I was in grammar school, high school, of course, a lot of my friends and families worked in the paper business here. We, of course, missed all the businesses that had left the area. As it is now, the industry in the town is gone. There's practically no industry in our town anymore.
In 1939, Paper Service began using a recycled paper. By World War II, it was working with the Department of War to develop recycling programs for the paper industry. Paper Service used only recycled materials. It was the first business in New York State permitted to identify its products with a recycling symbol. Paper Service also received the Sierra Club Award for Environmental Excellence. The O'Neills purchased the mill in the 1920s, and it remained in the O'Neill family for 3 generations. The business passed from Clarence to his 2 sons, Roland and Russell, and finally to his grandson, Gary. Paper Service was a family company that was actively involved in the Winchester community. Often, Paper Service would provide local school children with free paper for art projects and town parades. It regularly underwrote school field trips. Today, Gary O'Neill is still an active member of the Winchester School Board. For over 20 years, Paper Service sponsored a summer art program for kids. The children created murals for the mill, for local schools, and for downtown Hinsdale to brighten other facilities that had closed. The program taught kids the importance of recycling. It was so special that many of the children maintained ties to the community and correspondence with Gary O'Neill. Paper Service also had an artist-in-residence program that provided young artists the opportunity to create artwork and obtain exposure within the community. This was an important program for Paper Service. In 1900, Paper Service began servicing companies like S.S. Pierce in Boston. Each package contained 1,000 sheets of 5x7 paper and had a hook to be hung in an outhouse. The packages were produced until the 1960s. They were then replaced by 1,000-sheet rolled toilet paper, which Paper Service manufactured and shipped all over North America. Paper Service created a variety of different colored paper to suit the needs of its customers, which included the Christmas tree stores, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Yankee Candle. Paper Service provided wrapping tissue, packing tissue, marking tissue, and napkins for many different industries. That product was called Interlay and sold throughout North America and the Far East. Beginning in the 1970s, Paper Service underwent many dramatic changes. Paper Service realized that environment regulations were going to have a major impact on the paper manufacturing business. It invested heavily in a state-of-the-art anti-pollution system that was designed by Anderson Nichols and installed at the mill. The anti-pollution system cleaned effluent, removed solids, and returned water to the Ashalot River cleaner than when it came into the mill. The final step was the polishing lagoon, where the water was transferred to be restabilized and put back into the Ashalot River. The anti-pollution process reduced Paper Service's water usage by nearly 90% and had a major effect on the Ashalot River. The river was reclassified from an industrial Class C river to a recreational river. After 1949, when the Lower Robertson Dam was decommissioned, Paper Service produced its own steam by burning wood gas in its boiler. It later purchased electricity from PSNH. In 2005, Paper Service reached a deal with Amoresco that would have produced a huge boost to the company's business. Amoresco was going to construct a wood-fired plant at the mill. The plant would produce steam and electricity for the mill and help eliminate all gas emission taxes. Amoresco was going to pay Paper Service $100,000 a year and supply the mill with free electricity. Unfortunately, the October 2005 flood ruined the Amoresco deal. In 2005, Paper Service obtained grant funding to investigate ways that its business could implement new technologies and recover from the effects of cheap exports from China flooding the North American market. Paper Service had arranged to purchase 2 high-production paper machines from biotech mills. Those machines, called Yankee Fourdriniers, would have greatly increased the mill's production. They also would have enabled the mill to make a greater variety of higher-end tissue products, still using 100% recycled materials. They were a perfect fit with Paper Service because the mill's anti-pollution system had the ability to handle the increase in production. Paper Service was very excited about this product. Some of the new equipment that was going to be used with the biotech mill's machines had already been installed. That project also was ruined by the 2005 flood.
Welcome to Paper Service Limited. My name is Rick Molesky. I was a plant manager at Paper Service Limited. I worked here for 25 years. This is where the number 3 machine was. This is the number 3 machine that was in this room. This is an example of what the new machine from Biotech would have looked like once installation was complete. This is where the number 2 used to be, and one of the Biotech machines was going to go. This was how this room looked before the flood when the mill was operating.
All of this new equipment was going to allow paper service to produce 10 times the amount of paper that was produced in 2005.